in the sound and decibels of my voice, it is indeed my pleasure and privilege to be here this afternoon to do a presentation basically surrounding airport operations. I want to thank Mr. Abdias Samuel for the invitation he has given to me this afternoon. I've known Mr. Samuel for quite a long time, and I work very closely with him being the disaster coordinator, national disaster coordinator, and having to work at the airport, we have a lot of communication indeed. It's indeed a troubling privilege to follow my cousin, Beulah. Her performance is always different. And so I have to adjust myself indeed. I want to also thank the COVID-19 task force for the work they have done over the last couple of months. It has been tremendous. And I want to say a hearty thank you to each and every one of the persons involved. I can mention Mr. Abdias Samuel again for chairing this committee, Dr. Hazel Laws, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, and from the government side, there are two ministers that stand out very much in my mind. The Honorable Wendy Phipps, who was my neighbor when I was a little boy, and I looked at her very closely. And in my mind, I said that this lady will turn out to be a person of recognition. She has not disappointed indeed. And also to the Honorable Vincent Byron, Attorney General. You've all done a tremendous job. And those whom you have led, I want to say a hearty thank you to them also, including Mr. Cromwell Henry and his team from law enforcement. You know, not everybody has a genuine heart. And not everyone will say it like it is for one reason or the other. But I speak on the behalf of all the good-hearted persons in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and beyond. You have done a very good job. Keep on doing what you are doing. You have the reward, indeed. Man does not always give the correct reward, but there's someone above men. In the midst of life, we are faced with disasters. And sometimes we make our plans, but we cannot plan enough and very well for some disasters. And so we are faced with some serious circumstances. COVID-19 is one such event that has shocked the entire globe. And let me inform you that at the airport we were making a lot of plans, very important plans, to improve our systems, our processes, our facilities. Because we recognize that there has been tremendous and exponential increase in travel, not only via sea, but also via air. If we look at the figures of 2017, we would have seen approximately 139,000 persons arrived at the Robert L. Bratcher International Airport. In 2018, an exponential rise. It moved up to about 150,000 passengers. And when we thought that it would have settled there, we saw an increase again in 2019. We expected a further increase in 2020. Our anticipation for a brilliant future in passenger travel and the desire to heighten the operational standards at the airport inspired us at SCASPA, the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority, to embark on a number of very important capital projects. The last few years, we have worked very hard to improve our situation there. These projects include, but are not limited to, the refurbishment of the terminal building. And those of you who have visited the airport within recent times would recognize that we have done quite a lot of work within the check-in area of the terminal building. It's now fully air-conditioned. We once had a lot of complaints about the heat in that area. No longer do we have those complaints. We also moved to refurbish the runway and taxiways, resurfacing, remarking, and relighting with a brand new solar lighting system. We are still in the process of reconstructing taxiway Alpha, which is our main taxiway at the airport. And we've had to do some major work in that area. But nonetheless, we recognize that these projects are very important, and we had to do them. The arrival of COVID-19 has caused us to adjust in a tremendous way. Our operational hours, which prior to COVID-19 saw us operating from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. officially, but with extensions according to situations where there were delays in the arrival of commercial flights. We are now down to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on a daily basis. And the flights are now limited to specially pre-approved passenger flights. You would have been hearing a long time ago, as of the 26th of March, that we are no longer accepting commercial passenger flights. It does not mean that if there are persons on the island who are not really citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis wanting to leave the island, they cannot leave. We've seen quite a number of these persons left. They would have arranged flights on their own. And we've also seen a few arrivals of our own persons. This has been going on for quite a while, and will still go on as long as the appropriate application for such is made. Approval for this type or these types of operation can be received from the COVID task force through the management of the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. In other words, you do not have to write directly to the COVID task force, but you can write to the CEO of SCASPA, who is Mr. Denzil James, and you can do so via email. His email address is Denzil, spelled D-E-N-Z-I-L, .James, J-A-M-E-S, at SCASPA, Sierra Charlie Alpha Sierra Papa Alpha, SCASPA. Funny language there, I don't mind. SCASPA.com. So Denzil.James at SCASPA.com. His telephone contact, mobile 662-7273. Fixed line during work time 465-8121. If for some reason you're unable to make contact with Mr. Denzel James, you can contact me. My contact information is Ellsworth, Ellsworth, .warner, WARNER, at scasper.com. And my telephone number is 662-5812. So we've just spoken about pre-arranged passenger flights. We also see the operation of medevac. If someone suddenly gets ill and needs to be flown out of St. Kitts for special treatment, this flight can take place. All we need to know is that the flight is coming, it's taking out a patient, and you're good to go. And if the flight needs to depart, even outside of the stipulated 6 to 6 hours, we just need a discussion. Life must be saved. And so we will just inform our Attorney General, who is a gentleman with a good heart, and he will give the approval for that to happen. We will also accommodate emergency flights. And what I mean by this, if there's an aircraft operating within our airspace and that aircraft finds itself in difficulty, of course, running short on fuel, an engine problem, we will open and receive. And then the regular flights, such as cargo and courier flights, these flights continue to operate as they were operating before the arrival of COVID-19. Examples of these flights: Amerijet cargo, courier flights, Ameriflight, DHL, Federal Express. The information relative to the operation of the airport has been notarized. It has been sent via a special message, aviation message, and it goes around the entire globe. No pilot or owner or operator of any particular airline or aircraft should come to St. Kitts indicating that they don't know of this. A NOTAM, when it is sent, goes to all of the other NOTAM offices around the world. And so as a pilot, you enter an NOTAM office, or you call to find out as to what is happening at a particular airport, especially if you have an interest in going there. And so the information has been notarized, and there is no way anyone can sneak into St. Kitts indicating to us that they were not aware of this NOTAM. And so our borders are closed to regular passenger arrivals, even at this time. We are very keen on ensuring that our employees and customers are very well protected from COVID-19. And so we have established all of the health protocols at the airport. The wearing of masks and the 6 feet distancing, sanitization of persons entering our space, and all of the other things that we need to look at. We recognize that there will be some changes whenever operations at the airport recommence. We don't know exactly when that will be, but we are indeed making our necessary preparations for that time. There's quite a lot of discussion going on around the world. The International Civil Aviation Organization has been doing quite a lot of communication in these areas. Airlines are doing their own discussions and making their own plans for the future. And so life at the airport will not be the same when we return to operations. I want you to also be reminded, as I come to a close, that we are moving very quickly to the hurricane season, just about less than 2 weeks away. I know Mr. Elmer Burke, our senior meteorological officer, was here some days ago, and he impressed upon you that the season will be very active, above normal. And we are understanding that there could be up to 16 or more named storms with 8 possible hurricanes. The Met Office is operated by SCASPA and based on the airport. We have never let down our guard in terms of our observation and reporting of the weather. And we will not let down, even more so that we are approaching the hurricane season. We are prepared to observe, acquire information, and pass that information to the public when that becomes necessary. Even as I speak, we've seen our first tropical storm, and we are not in the season as yet. Tropical storm Arthur is somewhere to the east of the eastern coastline of the United States. And this morning, it was packing winds of 50 miles per hour, sustained. The movement was actually to the north-northeast. And for your information, it's not anything for us to be concerned about at this time. I just want to advise you for your own good that some of the time you spent on your cell phones playing games and doing other things that are not so important, you can change a bit and use that time to learn more about your region in terms of the map of the region. Because from my years of experience in this sector, aviation and meteorology, I've had some weird experiences where storms were to the west of the island and moving further westward, but persons were asking me, when will it get to St. Kitts? Just try to understand the geography of the region. Understand the directions, east, west, north, and south, and the little points between there. Such that when you're informed about a storm and its movement, you won't have to ask too many questions. Learn about latitude and longitude. Understand what the grid maps are all about and how they can help you. The young generation, they spend too much time being wasted instead of educating themselves. And so, let us change our attitude. I want to thank you for the time given to me And I hope you understand everything I've presented here this afternoon. Thank you so much.